How the fuck is everybody doing? We're at it again. My motherfucker Marcellus here, the Swolefessor. Introduce yourself, dude.
What's up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka the Swolefessor, on YouTube and Instagram. Man, y'all need an introduction. I've been on this is like what, third time past.
Dude, I want you to be a regular. For real.
Yeah.
I've got me and you will talk offline. I got a couple ideas for I think we should get together monthly and talk about shit, because I think it's neat for my old ass to talk to your young ass fucking just us go about it. But what have you been up to since the last time we talked?
Man, all right. So pretty much, man, the last time we talked was like a month ago. Give or take, maybe. Give or take, yeah. So things started opening back up again, stuff like that. So getting back in the usual routine of that for myself, for many of my clients. And right when that started kind of going well, and more data coming out, more information coming out about like, hey, we're good, you can do this, you can do that. That's when the craziness of everything involving George Floyd happened just a couple weeks ago, and that stretched me thin, kind of like we were talking about briefly before. Just because one, of course, obviously being a part of the Black community, but as well as the fact of because I spoke on it and gave my thoughts on everything that was going on involving on it very vocally, like on my Instagram, on my stories, like that. So, and I actually had a few people want to bring me on a podcast to talk about it, so I did that. Had friends and family, of course, reach out, want to talk about it, vent, cry, just pick my brain on things. And then a lot of my clients who are in a lot of those areas, involve a lot of stuff, want to talk about it. And like I said, I stretched myself pretty thin that week. Actually became a pretty high stress week. So since then, the past couple weeks, I've been trying to do my best to kind of take things in waves, kind of take my time to detach, which I think is important. I've actually been preaching that to a lot of my clients, that like social media is a relatively new tool in the grand scheme of things. When you think about it, I don't think we're made to, nor do I think it's healthy to be taking everything in that's going on around the world all of the time. Right. I think that's a quick and easy way to get yourself stressed. Not that you shouldn't look into things that shouldn't care, but just been taking a little bit more time to, unwind, just enjoy time with my wife, just enjoy my training, and just focus on my clients, stuff like that. Good. But yeah, it's been 2020 has been wild.
Yeah, I think the last 3 months have probably aged everybody fucking 10 years. It's insane the amount of stress everybody's been under, especially with just the fucking crazy shit that's happened. Like I always point out to everybody, like anybody that says we've got this thing, and just so everybody knows, Marcellus is going to be on our cruise. He's going to be one of the speakers on our cruise, and I'm going to do the first night we're doing like an open mic night. I'm going to do like semi-comedy routine, and it's going to involve the wormhole we all went through when the last time we were on a cruise, which was in mid-March of 2020, where we came back and shit went crazy. There's murder hornets and fucking pandemics and fucking UFOs. And then, one of the things you and I talked about on our very first talk a couple months ago was how both, and I was actually going to pull some clips, but then I was like, it's there, people can go watch it. Yeah. But both of you and I were saying we need to watch, because civil, when you lock people down, civil unrest is not far away. We were both very clear about that. Yeah. Now, granted, my take on the whole George Floyd thing is not only should that officer have been arrested immediately, but the officers around him should have been also too. That man was murdered in the streets.
I've yet to find anyone who, like I said, regardless of anyone's race, political background, religious background, I've yet to have a discussion with a single individual who didn't see that video and immediately think, oh yeah, these cops screwed up, they need to be punched the full extent of the ball. I don't think there's been any type of real disagreement on that at all.
Yeah. How it was handled was just so fucking poor. That guy went home that night. My first response, I get choked, I get choked up thinking about it, but I even posted, don't just fucking stand there. What the fuck? Don't just stand there and watch somebody die. How the fuck do people do that? And everybody's like, well, they're afraid for their life. At some point in time, and that's what's happening now with the riots and everything like that. I don't think that's serving a purpose either. My thing is, and you and I have talked about it before, where I grew up with being in my social circle. I was the minority in my social circle, right? So I've seen, but not experienced. I've seen firsthand what discrimination looks like, but I've never experienced it like somebody like you or somebody like that would. When I grew up in the 80s in Pittsburgh, Like if me and you were friends back then and we would
Yeah.
go to some restaurants, they wouldn't serve us
Mhm.
still, you know, like that's the fucking 80s. So like when people approach me like, well, racism is dead and blah, 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 shut the fuck up. You know, like that's stupid. That's stupid shit. As long as people have brains, certain people are going to like think they're better than other people. That's just fucking reality, you know?
Absolutely. If it's not racism, if it wasn't racism and it's based off class, not based off class,
Right.
based off tribalism. As long as there's human beings, there will be some form of discrimination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, how it's disgusting to me that we even have to have a discussion about equal rights, because I'm a big, you know, obviously I'm a big constitutionalist. And I think that everybody has inalienable rights they're born with, you know, like, and for anybody's to be diminished, no matter who they want to fuck, no matter what they fucking nationality, like I don't give a fuck about that shit. That's ridiculous. You know, everybody deserves rights, you know? Yeah. And I worry that like what is happening now with like the takeover of several city blocks in Seattle and stuff like that, I don't think that that's going to serve the purpose that people think it is. That's just my worry on that. I'm not, you know, I have no insight on how that shit works. I'm literally a bystander. But what do you think about what's going on with the riots and with stuff like that? You know, coming from because you have way more of a perspective than I do, because even though I've seen it happen and I acknowledge it. Because I find it weird how a lot of people my age don't acknowledge that racism has happened and happened. Like the era we grew up in was very much, you know, very, very much so very racist. Yeah. Well, and so what's your take?
I feel like the mindset is because people don't understand how to look at nuance in things, in the sense of you've got people on both extreme sides. You have some people who want to go so far as to be like, oh, racism isn't even a thing anymore. Like we got rid of that, we're good, which is obviously stupid, idiotic.
We got rid of that.
Yeah, you will never do that. There is no utopian society, I believe, you will ever do that. I believe you can get to the point where you set it up to where if like, you know, somebody acts on that, then there can be consequences. But I don't think you'll ever get to a point where you get rid of it completely. But on the other end, you have people who I feel like they want to act like things haven't gotten better at all. Like you have the people who are like, things are just as bad as what they were 200-400 years ago, which is obviously ridiculous. And I feel like the reason a lot of people are so quick to kind of push against when things like this happen is because they feel like if they don't, then they're acting like, oh, well, that means I don't love America, or that means that I don't, you know, think things have gotten better, which obviously is the case. Like I tell people all the time, you can acknowledge things you've done wrong in the past. You can acknowledge things that you need to work on now without taking away from a lot of the good that you have done and are trying to do up to that point. So that's how I feel about the extreme sides. In terms of like, you know, like that with George Floyd, like I said, anyone who disagrees that those cops need to be punished for the laws are moron. The fact that they're all being charged, I think is great. That's what we need. So as far as like the riots, right? So first of all, I try to make sure I make an obvious distinction between the protests and the riots, because I will always support your right to protest peacefully. Like in my personal opinion, I oftentimes don't necessarily think, at least in today's time, that protests necessarily give you the impact that you want, depending on what it is. And the reason I say that is because at one point, you know, we didn't have social media. You almost had to go out and protest to get your message across. But now, like we look at the whole Ahmaud Arbery case, that there wasn't really any protesting going on, but the video just spread so quickly through social media. People kept bringing it up, kept sharing it. We're expressing their outrage on social media. And then, you know, the people got charged, right, who were involved in that. And with the George Floyd cases, as I explained on the podcast, I was like, when this happened, I actually thought it was going to be one of those things where, wow, this is so clear and blatant police brutality that regardless of your views on racial issues, everyone's going to be united on the stance that this is wrong, they need to be punished. And at first, it seemed like that's what it was. It seemed like everyone was united against it. And then, you know, then the protests in Minnesota itself happened. And then that turned into a riot. And then you had riots kind of across all of the U.S. Now, I will say that if, let's say, no riots had happened and it was purely just protest in all states of the U.S., which did end up happening, there were protests in all states of the U.S. I feel like on that level, it definitely makes a difference, because on top of social media, you've got literally every state being like, hey, we don't tolerate that. We don't stand for this. This is wrong. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. My problem with the riots is, and I'm not someone who says like, oh, violence is never the answer, riots don't work. We can look at history and see that that's not true. There are plenty of times where violence was the answer, plenty of times where riots did work. My problem is you have to be very context specific. I feel like in the context of something like this, where you had everyone already pretty much united on the front that, hey, this was wrong. You had everyone pretty much focused on this because of COVID and because of the shutdown, because a lot of people still weren't at work. So way more people saw that video than what they would have otherwise, because they're tuned into the media, they're tuned into social media, they're not doing much else. Everyone's united on that front. The only time I started seeing division really was when the riots started happening. And a lot of people say like, hey, stuff can be replaced, property, blah, 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 and I get that, but here's my thing. One, I will never believe that two wrongs make a right. And two, I'll say this, even though I can understand, and for some, not all, once again, even when we're talking about the rioters, you have to get a little bit nuanced, right? There's a difference between someone who's rioting because they're truly just outraged and upset. There's just someone who's rioting because they just want to steal and loot things. And then there's a difference between someone who's rioting because like they came in from the city. Like, I'm sure you've seen the videos of people like coming in wearing these different costumes, purposely destroying stuff. There's cities of there's like videos of like certain people dressing up as officers and destroying their own cars, stuff like that. So we have to understand the nuance even with that. But what I will say is I don't believe two wrongs make a right. I believe when you start destroying your own property, your own businesses that, mind you, have been shut down and now get to get opened up again and now have been destroyed. And then not to mention the fact that innocent people were killed. You had officers who were just doing their jobs, including black officers. There was a child who almost died because the home was being burnt down while the child was in it. And then there's like several just citizens who were killed during these riots. So it's like, okay, how does destroying this stuff and killing these innocent people do anything for George Floyd or his family? Mind you, like I said, I'm not opposed to taking action when it's necessary, but I believe even when you do, it needs to be focused. It's kind of like in the same way indiscriminate shutdowns did not help, indiscriminate rioting and destruction of property and the take of innocent lives doesn't help anything either. Because now you have this divide where when people say, for example, Black Lives Matter, and I'm just talking about like the phrase, not necessarily the organization, like the phrase, right? Instead of everyone being like, yeah, no, absolutely. Now it's like, well, dang, what does it mean when I say that? Does that mean I support everything involved with it? And that's what I think is unfortunate. You have people who are so quick to cancel each other and cap each other in the sense of almost like cancel culture if they don't agree with something. I'm like, you guys got to understand, there's a lot more to this now. If you ask most people, hey, how do you feel about what happened to George Floyd? They're going to be like, that was disgusting, that was wrong. Absolutely. If you ask them how they feel about the riots, you're going to get various answers. You're going to have people who say, well, I don't agree with it, but I understand what's happening. You're going to have some people be like, no, it's wrong, period. I don't justify it at all. You're going to have some people think like, well, they've been killing us, so now we got to kill them, blah, blah, blah. Just all kinds of different responses. So in my personal opinion, I don't think the riots did anything to help. I think they caused more division than needed. I think there's a lot of rhetoric that causes more division than needed. It's like, and we can kind of get into that later. And then the whole, autonomous zone BS, I think that's just ridiculous. Anyone who's taken the time to actually look into it, to look at what their demands are, to look at what's going on there. And I don't mean just watching a quick clip off CNN where they show only the nice, peaceful stuff. I mean, you go watch the actual videos that are being released from what's happening there. It's ridiculous. One, you're not going to get what you want. It's not going to happen. Two, it's like, I think it's hilarious. People get mad that they're being referred to as like, terrorists, this and that. I'm like, okay, well, you're basically saying that you're not a part of the U.S. anymore. You're taking over a piece of the U.S. There's still U.S. citizens and businesses that are there. You're charging those businesses money. You're handing out guns. You're making all these demands. I mean, if somebody came from outside of the U.S. and did that, oh my God, I'm pretty sure we'd call it terrorism. So, and my thing is this: this is what really frustrates me, especially as a black man. I don't like when people take the flag or the ideology of fighting for equality and civil rights and use as a justification for their extreme actions. Because it's like, I tell people all the time, like, people like sit with us. That's what I tell them. Like, they don't sit with us. They don't do anything to help us. I don't even think it's really about us. It's about their own self-satisfaction, gratification. Because I'm sitting here like looking at the demands, right? It's like a list of 30 demands. I'm reading through this. And I'm like, even the stuff that they could do for y'all, I'm like, how does this help the Black community? How does this help with increasing education? How does this help combat poverty? How does it help combat certain disparities that aren't even always necessarily racial in of themselves, but tend to impact a lot of the Black community because they are in some of these disparate groups like poverty and stuff like that. I look at this list, I'm like, this isn't doing anything for us. This is a distraction. If anything, it's distracting from what really matters. And then I'm like, at this point, okay, usually when we protest, when we ride, when we're upset, it's because justice isn't being served. Well, at this point, due process was going on. The officers being investigated. Now all of them have been arrested. All of them have been charged. So at this point, it's just a matter, we have to wait. So I'm like, what are y'all doing? And then we can say all day that, well, it's been a buildup of different things. And I obviously feel that. I get that when you see stuff over and over, but I feel like we have to take the time to be honest about a lot of stuff. Like, that's something I tell people too. You will never ever fix an issue by ignoring it, but you also equally so won't fix it by exaggerating it. That's why I said you have to be careful about rhetoric. I don't like the rhetoric when people say things like, yeah, officers are just out here killing black people in the streets on a daily. That's not true. You can look up the stats on it. That's statistically not true. Like, as far as like, if we look at the stats on are they more likely to use lethal force against like minorities, there's almost no difference between blacks and whites at all, especially when you consider the fact that, 60% of the population is black men. We commit 51% of the violent crimes. And I'm not saying that in the sense of, oh, we're black, we just commit crimes. We have to look into why that's going on. But that's very different. Like, and then, statistically speaking, in that same study, they show that they are more likely to use aggressive force against us. But that's very, very different than saying, oh, they're just out here killing us in droves. And I think you have to be careful with that rhetoric, because it's like, if you're telling young black kids from the start, hey, white people hate you, cops hate you, and even if you do everything right, they will still kill you. What kind of relationship what kind of mindset does that create between them and officers? That's already going to cause more harm than good. Mm-hmm. And that's why I tell people, like, listen, if you want to talk about issues of police brutality, yes. You want to talk about police reform, yes. You want to talk about systemic issues from the past that, even though we've changed a lot of things legally, are still kind of impacting some people today, that's fine. If you want to talk about the importance of personal responsibility and how we can, on the end of officers as well as citizens, I'm cool with all that. I'm cool with all the realistic solutions. But these extremes of screw all cops or screw all white people and just a lot of this divisive rhetoric, I'm like, y'all are creating more issues to fight against, which I personally believe some people like doing that. I really do. Yeah. I feel like it's when you have a lack of self-validation and you need something to be a part of or something to fight for or fight against, you will take any real, even if it's a real issue, right, and almost hijack that issue for yourself.
Well, this happens so much lately.
Yes, and just create all these other issues. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is disgusting. I'm like, y'all, to me, a lot of these extremes, like, you're no better than the extreme, like, racist people that you're against, because you're still causing us issues.
Well, I totally agree with that. What I can say is that I truly hope at some point in time I get to see you run for office, because I really mean it, man. Because every time I talk to you, it's like I think some people have had. I've been accused of having you on because you're black. I've been accused of having you on because you're young. I've been like. Meanwhile, they don't realize that me and you have been friends for years now, right? But also, they have you on. I have you on because of your background. That's partially fucking true. I mean, I'm having you on the cruise because you have a fucking serious background in kinesiology and can teach people how to move safely, right?
Yeah.
But that, and like, you have a great analytical mind, and I think It bothers me when people are like, they want to act like we live in this fairy tale world where discrimination doesn't happen. That shit bothers me. I'm very much a realist, right?
Yeah.
But it also bothers me when we can clearly fucking see. Like, I posted a lot of shit on my Instagram. People are so upset that I'm not just talking about straight fitness on my Instagram. And I just so you guys know, I am out and out fucking with all of you on that. I'm purposely trying to piss you guys off because I find it funny. But I also think that, like, we need to have like a real conversation about shit. Like, discrimination is a real fucking thing. Racism is a real fucking thing. Like, let's get it to the forefront. Let's talk about the difference in educational system. Let's talk about how education is based off of property tax rates and property values in majority of minority areas are not as high. Yes. That to me is discriminatory in and of itself. Like, if we want to call it equality, then we should have equality of education, because that's truly where, like, knowledge is the most powerful thing there is, right?
Yeah. And let's look when it comes to that, on that note, I have to say, and look at the people who put certain policies in that impact that, because oftentimes the people you see that people vote for because they think, oh, these people have my best interest in mind. Well, look at the policies they're setting up. The policies are set against you, like even with the property tax thing, right? Yeah. There's a point where they were trying to come out with vouchers, where pretty much like, hey, you can go to a school outside of your district. If you want to go to a better school, you can do that. And and unfortunately, in mind you, like I'm an independent in the sense of I look at each thing from situation to situation, whether I lean right or left depends on the situation.
And that is why we're really friends.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's just I think that's just being politically smart. I feel like at this point, if you're not doing that, even if you identify as Republican or Democrat, if you're not looking at things based upon the issue or the policy, I don't know what to tell you at this point. But if you look at it, at that point, the Democrats pushed hard against that. They pushed hard against that voucher. Yet so often we in the Black community are taught that, oh, the Democrats are always for us. I tell people, listen, not all Democrats think the same. You can have 7 Democrats that usually push for a typical Democratic agenda, but that one person that's running can be pushed for something else. Look at the policies, look at the history behind some of the stuff, and vote based upon that. And the way you vote locally can oftentimes be very different than how you'll vote nationally. But it's like that's what I think is unfortunate. A lot of people say like, hey, a lot of this stuff hasn't changed, it won't change. And I'm like, well, sometimes you gotta look at things from a state-to-state basis. A lot of stuff hasn't changed in some of those areas because you keep voting people in who are going to keep putting in these policies.
Right.
But no one wants to look at that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, do I think we need a radical overhaul of how things are? I really do. I think we should. I think we should take a a look. Like, actually, everybody take a refresher course in the Constitution and understand that everybody should have certain fucking rights that cannot be fucking put on pause. Like the whole concept of what we've been going through, where like our constitutional rights were put on pause. That doesn't actually fucking happen. Like, we like not one lockdown, in my opinion, was legal. Like, okay, you claimed a state of emergency, but now we're going to go through all sorts of other shit. Like right now we have people asking like, have you had any cold symptoms? You don't get a right to have my fucking medical information. I can list off a gajillion things wrong. Do we need massive reform? We really, really do, because we live in an oligarchy. I mean, anybody that denies that, try to get elected when you make $50,000 a year. Try to get elected to national office when you make $50,000 a year. If you can't even be in the conversation, if you're highly qualified, if you know politics and everything like that, and you have the educational background or whatever you need to get into politics, and you try to get elected on a national level, good luck. It's rich people. It's an oligarchy, and we need to address things like that, because in my mind, for somebody like right now, and I don't know how he's even entered the conversation. Bill Gates is heavy in the COVID conversation. He's heavily in the COVID conversation because he's fucking rich. But absolutely, but he has no, like, his culture. He might as well be from an alien planet with how he lives his life compared to you and I. Yeah. And I don't think that we should have a government by the people for the people, and that includes all people of all races, of all gender, of all fucking sexuality, of all whatever. Like, that's why I've had a lot of people recently being like, oh, you're just kind of repackaging as conservative. I was never packaged as a fucking progressive. I'm a very fucking, I have progressive ideas. I have fucking conservative ideas. Do I think I'm a normal person, and I think most people are like that. They just feel very much at home. They feel welcomed, and they feel like they have cause when they can align with other people.
It's lazy. It's lazy. It's a lot easier to just be like, hey, I'm with this side, so whatever they say I agree with, than to take the time to critically think about each issue and be like, well, in this case, I'm probably a bit more conservative, and this one I'm probably a little bit more liberal. It's laziness.
Right. Okay. Like I keep posting, and I posted on the smaller channel a few videos like We the People. Like, we the people need to fucking just have a discussion with we the people need to remind our government that they cannot turn off our rights. They don't have the right to do that. We need to remind them they work for us. I believe that. We need to remind people that it does not matter what the fuck your skin color is. You deserve justice, and you deserve equal treatment. And I find the hypocrisy of the arguments that are going on right now so funny on both sides. Like, all of a sudden Republicans give a fuck what happens to their body. Like, my body, my choice. I don't even need to discuss that any further. That's fucking so. And you know what? And I agree with that.
Yeah,
I actually agree with that completely. If it's your body, it's your choice to do what the fuck you want with it. But we also have people like I can't even imagine some of these how some of the Democrats are acting. How people can be okay with some of this shit. Like, they're supposed to believe in freedom. Like, I don't know how these some of these Democratic governors are not in jail also. Like, putting
COVID patients in nursing homes.
Yeah. Now, just before I actually hear heads explode, there were several Republican governors that also mandated that COVID positive patients be sent back to nursing homes too. They should also go to fucking jail.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is murder. I mean, like that is that like on our first, I rewatched our. I actually say re-listened to last night when I was doing other work, but I re-listened to our first one, and you and I both were under the premise like people are losing their fucking minds because this is one or the other. It is either way more contagious than the flu, which is something you and I have said multiple times, that COVID was either way more contagious than the flu, or it is way more deadly than the flu, has a much higher death rate. It is not actually both. You know, like, and the reason why we were able to say that then, and we're able to say that now, is just math. You know, and like I've had so many people are like, well, you're not an epidemiologist. No, but that's a number. Okay. And I mean, like a number goes into a calculator. And when you know that something's super contagious, like they've alluded to it all the time. And I do believe that the government, the media, everybody like that has kept the concept that it is super, super, super contagious. They say it, and they say it as this scary ass fucking thing, right?
Yeah, but they don't talk about that in context, like why that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, they don't talk about it in reference, which means like, okay, but that does mean that like the death rate is much lower because they want that death rate number based off of the symptomatic. Symptomatic cases. They don't want it based off of anything else, because then they don't get that horrifying, scary number. Because no matter, here's the thing: anybody that says both the media and the government was not trying to scare us right now, this is not a conspiracy theory. But when the government released UFO footage in the middle of this shit, like anybody that thinks they weren't trying to scare the fuck out of you.
And what's funny is that they released it right when it's funny how certain things got released. It was right when people started being like, oh wait, some of these numbers don't add up. Oh wait, the CDC just changed this, that, and the third. And then what's funny is let's actually real quick, we can go through the whole mindset people had and almost in response to everything we said all the way up to now, right? So at first, when it first happened, you and I both openly admitted in that first video that, hey, there's not a whole lot of information out right now. This is just kind of what we're assuming based upon what we do know. And that's another thing I will say. Some stuff, yes, you can say in hindsight. Some stuff you can't. Like the fact that we knew from the start pretty much how this is going to impact elderly people. Mm-hmm. So there's zero excuse for putting COVID patients in nursing homes. You can't justify that. I don't want to hear any crap on that. You can't. That was dumb. We've known that from the start.
And that's like 30,000 deaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like 30,000. Where me and mine and your first conversation was isolate them. Like fucking close that shit down, right?
Yeah. So we can go through the whole process. The first thing was, hey, this is just what we think is going to happen, kind of based upon what we do know, and based upon like past virus agreement. This is novel, it's new, but it's not like it's a new strain. You know what I mean? So just based upon what we know about that, this is kind of our assumption. But hey, you know what? It's like the first couple of weeks. If they're doing this because better safe than sorry, cool, we're cool with it. And everybody was fine with that, right? And the first mindset was, hey, we're doing this so hospitals aren't overrun. Okay, fast forward about 2 weeks to a month later, hey, we now realize that our hospitals aren't really at risk for being overrun. We have more than enough. They're building more. We have so many hospital beds. And now we realize that the reason that places like Italy were overrun is because, look at their population, look at their the way the population density is set up as far as them being on top of each other in multi-generational homes. Look at the demographics, look at their hospital infrastructure compared to ours. We think we'll actually be okay. And it's like, well, now it's about saving lives. Like, okay, well, hold on. We don't think that indiscriminate shutdown is necessarily the best way to save lives, because you're not actually isolating the high risk individuals. You're just telling them, hey, you can only go to these areas and be grouped in with everybody else. They still have to go out to Walmart, do this, and that. We don't see how that's really saving anybody. And if anything, we feel like, you're flattening the curve, but you're also widening it, meaning, lower chance of herd immunity. We aren't going to have a vaccine for at least another year or so. And it's like, you guys aren't epidemiologists, so you don't know. Okay, fine. Take the time to find several upon several epidemiologists, experts, virologists who take the time to put out all this information, put out all these hour-long YouTube videos. You take the hours and I know you're doing this too, like me and a couple of friends, like every single day, hours worth of research into this stuff. It's like, heck, what else are we doing, right? To look into this. And I don't just mean like, you do a quick Google search. I mean, look at the actual, not just reading the abstract, look at actual research, look at who's doing it. Do they have some type of bias? Do they get paid? Looking at all that? You provide all that with them. It's like, that's just like, a handful of experts. The ones that I've watched, you mean the one or two that they keep re-showing over and over on CNN? Because I'm like, that's the thing I tell them, like, listen, if we can just say for the sake of argument that they're trying to push a certain narrative, why would they have all these experts on who are going to go against that narrative? And that's another boom. They'd be like, well, most experts agree. I'm like, where are you hearing that from? What are you talking about? First of all, most experts don't ever agree on anything.
Right.
Secondly, if you take the time to just look, the vast majority of experts, even some of the US as well, are telling you, yo, we think we're going too far. And then they get an argument like, oh, so we should do nothing, let people die. Me saying that I think we should do something different than a indiscriminate shutdown is not at all the same thing as saying we should do nothing. I'm saying I don't think the indiscriminate shutdown is going to do as much. Then more information comes out where they start showing like, hey, so it seems like other than doing things that involve actually isolating the high risk individuals, it seems like your overall cases, deaths, hospitalizations can be based upon two things: population density and demographic. That's why you have some states that never shut down, but you also have certain nations, right? You have certain areas like Belarus, like that never shut down.
Yeah.
That some took you have some like Sweden where they took some precautions, but they didn't do a shut down. Some didn't do anything. Where based upon the original predictions, they should be screwed. But you have some of these areas that never shut down. Or hardly did any type of shutdown measures that hardly had any deaths. Even if their population density was huge, like you can look at Japan and stuff like that. And it's because, well, Japan has a very high population of healthy individuals. Yeah. That's what I tell people. It's not even just population density, because if I have a room of 1,000 people, right? But let's say that out of those 1,000 people, 900 of them are totally healthy. Yeah. Well, then you're going to be good. If I have just a room of 100 people, but all 100 of them have several underlying issues, even though this population density is much bigger, you get the same amount of deaths.
Right.
And then then when it goes to the point of being like, oh, hey, so now even according to the CDC itself, the IFR, the mortality rate is actually this. It's a lot lower than what they thought, blah, blah, blah. Even it's not that, oh, because we did the shutdown, it somehow magically lowered it. That's not how it works. It's, hey, we now know based on antibody test, based upon the amount of cases, based upon information we have not just in the U.S. but across the mortality rate is probably looks like it's under 1%, not 6%, not any of that kind of stuff. So then at that point, instead of having people just be like, okay, yeah, we messed up, we should have done something differently, it wasn't needed. It's 100,000 people still died, so we still need the shutdowns. And I'm like, how does that logic work? So before, we did it because you thought millions were going to die. And you thought the hospital was going to be overrun. You found out that wasn't true. Now it's like, oh, we still have to save all these lives. We're going to get or it's going to be just all this type of death. Then you found out that wasn't true. Then you found out what the actual IFR was, what the actual mortality rate was. And it's like, instead of just being like, well, if we had done this, then it would have been that much more people. I'm like, how can you say that when there's nations that flat out either took way less restrictions or just didn't shut down at all? And that didn't happen. And that's not the case. Even in the amount of deaths we have here, many of that is due to, some of them are from the shutdown. Like I said, you're putting COVID patients in nursing homes. Mm-hmm. Two, you are literally going out of your way to basically force the elderly and immune compromised to still interact with everybody else because they have to go and do things eventually. And I love this argument. I love it's like, okay, well, if we would have tried to protect them, what would that look like? How would we do that? Well, what we're doing here in Texas, right? Because we're opening up and stuff now, right? It's pretty much if you're elderly or immune compromised, or you even live with someone in that area, pretty much you're set up with unemployment essentially.
Yeah.
So basically I'm like, hey, instead of taking that $1,200 we gave to everyone, including people who didn't need it because they could have been totally fine to go out and work if you would have let them, take all that money and focus on things like curbside assistance and giving money to those who can prove that I stay with an immune compromised person or elderly person. Let everybody else go out and about. And that's another thing. It's because when I say, hey, let everybody else go out and about and get closer immunity, herd immunity takes really long. One, wouldn't take anywhere near as long as getting a vaccine another year. Two, if people would take time to look at the research, they found, I think at this point, it was like a month and a half or 2 months ago, that one, it doesn't take near as long to reach herd immunity with something like this for a couple of reasons. Because guess what? More information came out. One, we now realize that, hey, this didn't start around February, March, January. It's been around as early as now they're saying December, quite even possibly early November. They're now saying that. And then they're saying, so one, it's been spreading, right? So a lot of your population already impacted. Two, we're now understanding that a good majority of the population won't ever even get it, which means the amount of the population that you need to get to reach herd immunity is much, much lower. And if you look at the actual numbers and figures with how it works, it just doesn't take as long with this, thank God, as it was with other things.
Right.
So it's like, had you set something up like that, right, to focus on isolating the high-risk individuals while everyone else kind of does the thing, you would have reached it faster. Then those high-risk individuals can go back out and kind of do their thing. Everyone wants to say, well, in hindsight, I'm like, well, that's fine, but that's how we usually handle this type of stuff anyway.
Right.
It's like we've never done this huge, crazy, indiscriminate shutdown before. It was based upon Ferguson's model, which we at this point now know was wrong. The dude's been historically wrong with pretty much every model.
Historically wrong.
Historically wrong. Nobody wants to acknowledge that, except for Sweden acknowledged that, and then I was like, oh,
you and I did.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I was like, this isn't even peer reviewed. We're shutting the world down off. I was like, we're shutting the world down.
By a dude who's historically wrong, which did not take long to figure that out and find that, and then everyone keeps pointing to. I don't even understand what's doing it. Even though people say that they understand why Italy was as bad as it was, but they'll still reference it. And well, this could have been us if we didn't shut down. No, it wouldn't have. We know because of how their population is set up and the demographic, why they got hit so hard. Same thing like places like Spain, right? And then people say like Sweden's doing so horribly. If you compare Sweden's death on a year-by-year basis, like the amount of deaths they have each year, it's like hardly any different. Yeah. And then they say, well, compared to their Scandinavian nations, right? Well, here's the thing: once their neighbor stuff start opening up, because there's a vaccine and those cases are going up, and then some of those people who unfortunately are probably going to lose their lives, and the numbers kind of settle out. Because that's what you're seeing. You're seeing, for example, at one point everyone was praising South Korea, right? Because like, oh, they beat it. They acted quick enough. They shut down early enough. They beat it. Then as soon as they open back up, boom, it starts again. Because it's like to a degree you have to let some of the stuff run its course. Now I'm not saying just like not to take precautions to still isolate the high risk people, but the point is, if the whole indiscriminate shutdown thing works, and if you do it early enough, because that's what everyone's saying, like, well, the reason it didn't work in the U.S. because we didn't do it early enough, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, South Korea did. You all were praising them for that. Still didn't do it. Still didn't get rid of it because that's not how it works.
People need to understand that this is just a part of our lives. This is just a reason to be healthy and shit like that. Like this virus, the chance of this virus going away, as contagious as it is, with the number of people that are asymptomatic, like 80% of the people are asymptomatic, things like that, it's going to be it is not an actual real thing to think we're going to get rid of this. So it's a very real thing to make sure we can isolate the sick and the elderly as much as humanly possible. And just like you're saying, like I've had so many fucking people tell me, well, I'm immunocompromised or my mom's immunocompromised and I need to take care of her. So you guys should all stay in too because I have to stay in. That's fucking stupid.
And that logic doesn't even make sense. I'm like, okay, wait. So if you're acknowledging that, hey, let's say for example, you say you're immunocompromised, so you have to stay in. Okay, I get it. I get why you have to stay in. But if that's the case, how does me going out hurt you? If you're going to stay in anyway, as you should, and I know that I'm good, how does me going out hurt you?
Yeah.
Because people's mindset is like, oh, well, if you go somewhere and then you interact with so-and-so and then they go interact with so-and-so's grandma, well, hold up, stop right there. Why is so-and-so going to interact with so-and-so's grandma? What sense does that make right now? It just doesn't make any sense. And then the best part, this is the best part, when Florida, Texas, Georgia, all of them started opening up and you had to do some people like, oh, this is going to happen, and none of that has happened. It's like hospitalization rates still going down, deaths still going down. And people love this. They love being like, oh, but look, Texas cases have gone up. Ever since y'all reopened, cases have gone up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, yeah, we increased our testing to like 25,000 a day. That's the point. That's the point. But the fact is, if cases are going up, but hospitalizations are going down and deaths are going down, that shows even more mortality being lower. And that's not even taking into consideration the antibody test, which they conveniently have seemingly stopped doing. Have you noticed that? I haven't seen an antibody test in a while. They kept doing more and more of them, showing, hey, millions more hazards than what we realized. And then suddenly they stopped doing that.
First of all, the entire medical profession, like the entire scientific world, owes Dr. John Ioannidis a massive apology.
Yes.
A massive apology.
He nailed everything.
He was right on every month.
He's so humble because he every time he talks about it, he's just like, yeah, I understand why people would question this. There's different data. I'm like, nah, bro, you were right. Screw that.
Right. He's got that smile on his face at all times. He's like, like I was right. But like they were like deleting his videos from YouTube.
I know.
He doesn't get a fucking say. People don't get to listen to Dr. John Ioannidis.
And only recently, because remember, at first it had millions of views. They weren't doing it all. It was only when the numbers finally came out confirming that what he said was true. Oh crap, we can't have this. And they deleted it.
I took because that was one of the first videos I posted about this. Yeah. And so many people were like, giving me so much shit. He's a quack. He's this and that. You're just posting You're just posting somebody that agrees with you. I'm like, he runs Stanford's like research on this shit. Like he runs their research department on this shit. Like he's vastly more qualified than Fauci, that like, I mean, like so much. And then you add on him, and then there's Dr. Dr. What, or I forget his name. Like so many people with like the former head of the European CDC like totally agrees with him, and said, and they were like that. Like everybody's like, oh, he's a quack too. Like, oh, so
and that's what's funny. A lot of people they're calling quacks, and I'm looking at their past. I'm like, there's nothing.
Yeah. There's no. What are you talking about? There's no quack talk.
I highly recommend people go check out the Unheard YouTube channel. Yeah. Man, this interviewer did such, and I've sent you some of his videos, such a great job, because one, he had several experts on, some who agreed with the shutdown, many who didn't. He has very objective, non-biased questions and interview points. But what's interesting is look at the amount of experts on there that he had on, and look at what percentage of them from the start was being like, this is what we predict to happen. This is why we think the indiscriminate shutdowns are bad. This is why we think it's going to cause more harm than good. And mind you, so far we're only talking about the harm it's actually caused to people involved in COVID. Dude, if you just take time to get into the numbers, and that's the thing that annoys me, people still refuse to. I'm like, look at the increase that has happened since the shutdowns in violent crime, suicide rates, with cancer patients. Look at all that, domestic abuse, all these various things, and that could have been avoided while still trying to protect high-risk individuals. Now, I'll say this, for people who just didn't take the time to look at certain information, and you're like, hey, I just didn't know in hindsight, whatever. Okay, fine. But there's so many people, though, where I'll put it this way. If you and I were able to find so much of this information, and all of you are saying these things, you really expect me to believe that these people, all this money, this high authority, couldn't find that either?
Well, that was my thing. Like, I do have like a decade and a half of like working in healthcare, like on an executive level basis. Like it's what I used to do. I used to do nutrition for healthcare, especially with a focus on long-term care for elderly people. That's why when it fucking first came out, I was like, fucking quarantine the elderly people. What the fuck's wrong with you? Yeah. Like there's, I almost like cried the first day we got back, like, and they announced it was like, we're shutting down in Florida, and we didn't even shut down. It was a safer at home order. It wasn't even a stay at home order because the governor's a genius and doesn't want that on his record. I really believe it's all political wording, but it almost made me cry because like we showed up to obviously get supplies because we did have toilet paper, but I was fucking concerned. We weren't able to get any on this trip, but I'm standing here and I'm like, the population in Florida, especially Southwest Florida where I live, is very, very much skewed. Like I'm a young pup, and I'm going to be 49 soon, right? And so elderly people everywhere standing in line, all shuffling through the same stores that now have limited hours, like people that had never been interacted with before, all of a sudden are fucking, interacting with each other and shit like that. Like it's this crazy thing where it's like, I can count, like I was going to do a video, but it's like, why do it? But like how the ways that we spread the virus, like that was a way we spread the virus to these people. These people should not have been out. We should have taken that, just like you said, that $1,200 for everybody and focused that money on them. There are 50 million elderly people above the age of 65 in the country. And we should have, instead of spending that money on all of us and the airlines and all that shit, we should have focused half that money on just taking care of the elderly and the sick. And people that say, well, we couldn't, what would that look like? I don't know, because I'm not that, but I bet you $1 trillion would fix that shit. It's $1 trillion fucking dollars.
There's ways, I feel like there's ways to set up, or if you want to do things like, so it's just like in terms of how many people can be in a group or restricting how much a business can operate rather than shutting it. There's so many other options that we could have done. The other places like tried that seemingly worked well. And my thing is, what I find to be probably like the most interesting about a lot of this is still some of the arguments people make. Like, for example, you have certain people like, my friend works like, in a hospital and this is very real. They're dealing with this. I'm like, okay, one, anyone who's saying it's not real is a moron. I don't think no one's saying it's not real. Two, of course, if you work at a hospital and a lot of hospitals are not dedicated purely to COVID, they're going to be dealing with COVID patients, but that does not change the actual numbers in terms of the fact that, well, for most people who get this, they aren't going to end up in the hospital. Most people aren't even going to realize that they have it. Like that's not a data-based argument. That's an emotion-driven argument. Yeah. Secondly, the thing like, but this has killed people. Well, of course, we knew that. We said from the first video, unfortunately, people are going to die. That's not to take away from it. I have friends who have lost people due to this. I have clients who have lost people due to this. So it's not taking away from it at all. But it's the fact that you can't just use the argument that, hey, life will be lost, and therefore that justifies industry to shut down. Because by that logic, I can do the same thing with car accidents, the flu, and then people try to say this. They try to say like, well, the difference is, we have a flu shot. We have the flu shot. I'm like, okay, listen, if you have a shot for something, but let's say you still have about 80,000 people dying from it, and then you don't have a shot for something, but you still have about 80,000 people dying from it. Whether you have the shot or not doesn't matter. If your argument is on the basis of lives, then what you look at is lives being lost, not why they're not so much why, but lives being lost. So by that logic, okay, make everyone stop driving because we know that's going to save lives. It's going to be that's going to save lives.
I do not hear anybody clamoring to shut down fast food, and we know that kills people.
Yeah, shut down fast food restaurants, shut down alcohol, and you shouldn't, because that's my whole point. Like, I'm not for any of that either. Prohibition doesn't work. If somebody wants to slowly kill themselves through smoking or drinking excessively or overeating, that is their choice. I don't agree with it, but that is their choice. In the same way that if somebody decides that, hey, I still want to go to work, provide for my family, then that is their choice. And then people don't even think about it. They're like, I've had conversations with a lot of people like who are in the elderly high risk group, and they're like, I remember one specifically said that what sucks for her is she's like, I don't know how much time I live on this earth anyway, and I want to enjoy my remaining time on this earth, not be told what I can and can't do. So it's like, at the end of the day, we take a risk every time we get out of our bed. Now, mind you, like I said, when you don't have a lot of information, and in your mind, this might kill millions. I get it 1,000%. But the fact that as more information kept coming out, it kept getting ignored. And then you find out blatant stuff like how they're counting the deaths. Like, hey, if you were put on hospice, but we found out you have COVID, it's a COVID death. If you die from a clearly alternate cause of COVID death, like I send you all this stuff, like the dude who died from alcohol poisoning, the dude who was shot in the head, all these things where they're counting them as COVID deaths. The fact that, hey, we aren't even going to have, you don't even have to test positive for it. We even think you've got it. It's a COVID death. The fact that they did that to boost the stuff. The fact that at one point, the number that the CDC was actually showing compared to the number that the unfiltered number that the media was showing was drastically different.
Oh yeah,
type of stuff. It's like you ignore what, and then just the hypocrisy on so many levels. Like some of these governors where it's like, okay, if you're doing like a local gathering, you can't have more than like whatever many people. But if you're going to a protest, it can be thousands of people. And mind you, I'm not saying that to bash the protest. I'm saying, can we please take a minute to look at the inconsistency? You have people who just a week ago, I kid you not, just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we're out here screaming, if you go outside, you're a murderer, who are now saying, if you're not out here at these protests with us, then you're rafist. Which is it?
Yeah,
Come on.
That's the thing. Like, and I remember even having after our first conversation about this, me and you talked afterwards, and I was like, be prepared. One, just to be like, get some hate because you're on camera with me, but two, just like what we said is, the contagious argument is the thing, because people are like, well, you're saving other people's lives. You mean you think I'm saving your life? Like, I saw a lot of people get really, really I was not once paused by this. I really wasn't. Like, I wasn't afraid for myself, and everybody's like, well, what about the elderly people in your life? We were just coming out of flu season. The elderly people in my life who were immunocompromised were already pretty fucking isolated because I'm not stupid. Like, that's the thing. Like, we need to protect these people. You didn't protect them last year, the year before that, when fucking when MERS was going on. You couldn't have given a fuck about them.
It's virtue signaling.
Yeah, HIV and AIDS has killed more people this year than COVID has, and will. I'm talking by almost double. Suicide. More people have died from suicide than this. More people like fucking over 1 million. Some people have died from alcohol this year, and around the world. Let's be fucking real, okay? This is horrible. I've had people be like, if we could just save one life. Are you fucking kidding me? Because
that's such a poor argument. Okay, don't drive then. Because if you do that, you're probably saving many potential lives. But people won't do that. It's
not even just motor vehicle accidents. How many lives do you think are lost in the procurement of oil? How many lives do you think are lost in things like that? Like, I mean, it's time we stop. Like, and I think I cursed us all. I'm gonna admit it, because I made a video where 2020 is the year we stop lying to ourselves, and that's literally all we've fucking done. 2020, the year we stop lying to ourselves about our health. That's literally all we have fucking done. I posted on my Instagram yesterday. I use stats that are posted like from the either organization or state or city, right? Mm-hmm. And Quebec released its it's age-related COVID stats, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it is like over 45, it's like 98.8% or something. And I'm just, you can check my Instagram. It's Alan Roberts EDF on Instagram anyway. But I posted that because it's so telling. They have more people that have passed away over the age of 75 than younger than 75. That is a very fucking real statistic.
Yeah.
This tells us who we should be protect. And people act like, well, it's just because you want your rights back. No, I want my rights back because I want my fucking rights back.
Yeah.
Period. They should, they're my fucking rights.
Well, at this point, if you only cared about yourself, I would be good because Florida's pretty much like y'all pretty much like.
Dude, it's the free state of Florida here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you. I'm like,
I'm saying, you and the wife need to come visit, man. We can go to bars and everything like here.
I'm like, yo, Texas is open. I'm like, this isn't just about what's convenient for me. Pretty much, I think all except for like 3 of my clients at this point, we have a deadline for when they'll be able to start, are all back in the full swing. So this is about me wanting what's best for me. I wouldn't care. This is about to me what I find to be right, what I find to be constitutionally correct, and the fact that I care about other people's lives. And then, like you said about people being honest, dude. I know you saw the thing going around talking about like, oh yeah, the 16.
I'll send it to you. Sorry about that. We have somebody that needs something here real quick. 1 second. I got to send a message.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. We're in the middle of a conversation, but. Boom. And then. Sorry about this, guys. There we go. Sorry about that. They need a password for another computer. But and people are like, oh, you're just biased. It's your self-interest, blah blah blah. Being a loudmouth about this shit did not win me favor. And I believe I told you at the very beginning, I was like, this is not going to make people happy with me. But at the same time, this is something that I did have experience with elderly people for a long time, experience and work history and everything like that. But also just on the number basis and people fucking just out and out fucking denying this shit. Like when I was posting the numbers from New York City almost daily because it was clearly showing it was elderly and immunocompromised people. Yeah. Like just for everybody's reference, I think as of yesterday, only 107 people without underlying conditions have passed away in New York City out of the almost 18,000 people that have passed away.
You have to be careful when they say without underlying conditions. Like I said, there's this thing about the 6-year-old boy, right? They're saying totally young, healthy individual, no underlying issues, who was killed. That's what they're saying, no underlying issues. The kid was clearly clinically obese. Yeah. And one of the articles where they talk about him, they kind of gloss over it, but they even talk about how extremely high his glucose levels were. Yep. But then they add the same thing, say no underlying issues, when we know obesity is like the number 2 risk factor. Yeah. So when people say, oh, look, because I've looked at some of that stuff, they're like, oh, look, these people died, no underlying issues. But then you go look, and it's like they're obese. Yeah.
Well, that's another thing, too. Like, I see all these because I deal with a lot with the fat acceptance community. I see all these woke motherfuckers talking about how I should be wearing a mask and I should be doing this and I should be doing that, blah, blah, blah. And then when I bring up and they say it's because the CDC says so, but they said so and then they didn't say so and then they said so and then they didn't say so. 1 second here.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yes. 1 more second, man. Sorry about that. Like I said, we're getting shit going. But I just, I find it egregious that like these same people are saying, I need to wear a mask, I need to do this, I need to do that, because the CDC says so and they didn't say so and they said so and they didn't say so. But when I say, the CDC is also saying if you have above a 35 BMI, you're at high risk, or 40 BMI, you're at a very high risk. Well, BMI is bullshit. You're going to pick one now. You know, like, I mean, that's the thing. You're going to pick one because, and people, it's because of how dangerous it was. Let's be real. Like the reason why the two week of, kind of shutter in place, because I was very concerned that, and we even talked about it, I believe, because we are such an unfit society. We're so disgustingly out of shape as a society. And I don't mean that people are disgusting before people try to twist my words. I believe that we're being led to be that way. Again, it's like fucking, it's literally how are these fucking things real? Like, I mean, how can we really take shit seriously when, you're avoiding actual data? The fucking, somebody just actually put it like news reporters shaming people for not wearing masks, and then there's pictures of them not wearing masks.
Or they'll take the mask off as soon as they turn the camera.
Yeah, it's so fucking sad. Like, I'm sorry, and people are like, well, masks are proven to work. No, I mean, they're really, really not. Especially, like, I'm going to argue, I have yet to see like a true. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, you're good. You're good. People who are pro lockdown are still receiving a wage and live with someone who does guarantee. Oh yeah, that's another thing where they messed up. Like you give somebody more money to stay home than to go back to work, and yeah, that's a pretty big incentive to not go back to work. Absolutely, Scott. Absolutely.
I'm back.
All right. Yeah,
sorry about that.
I guess because Scott was just saying how a lot of people who are pro lockdown are probably still receiving a wage or living with someone who does. And I'm like, that's another thing that was crazy is I'm looking at like for a lot of these people, like you're giving them almost incentive to stay home because they're getting more money than when they go out. And I tell people all the time, listen, we already know there's way more profit to be made off unhealthy individuals than healthy individuals. Because the thing about it, for all the talk I've seen about how dangerous this is and we need this vaccine and that I have not seen anywhere near enough talk about the importance of, hey, be on top of your nutrition. Hey, be active. And in some of these places where the gym's opening back up is in like the last phase, I'm like, wait, so you're going to open up malls and movie theaters and all these things before a small privately owned gym? Like it's wild.
Well, I mean, privately owned gyms are done. I mean, like to stay open as a privately owned gym, it's very, very hard, especially if they have if they have the fucking, you're only allowed to open up at 50%. Are we gonna reduce their rent 50%? Because besides, if you don't reduce their rent 50%, how the fuck are they gonna stay in fucking operation? Like, I don't, I mean, that's the thing. And now they're talking about like, well, will we shut down for a second phase? I would suggest that's a bad idea. The second wave, I would suggest that's an extremely bad fucking idea.
I think we're already in it, to be honest. I think if we think about the fact that it's been around, if it really did start around November, December, and went unchecked for that long, I think that was the first wave, and I think we were kind of already in the second wave by the time we shut down. Also, got to point this out real quick. Lazarus said, so was the whole damaged lungs and heart not real then? Lazarus, the same thing happens with the flu. I love when people do that. I love when people, because that's the best thing. One of the biggest arguments, right? And mind you, when you make the comparison between the flu and COVID, it was never about the viruses being similar. It's about, okay, how much death are we getting? Because if we don't, because that's how they're justifying, like, oh, saving lives, right? What's funny is at this point, from what we know so far, even though, yes, there's differences, there's way more similarities than differences. Like, oh, look, there's some lung damage after you recover from it. Same thing happens with the flu. Oh, look, there's some neurological issues after you recover from it. Same thing happens with the flu. Like all these things that people think. And that's why I know a lot of people don't even take the time to
there's no research.
I got to tell you this funny story because this was great. So at one point, on my story, when I was talking about how, like, hey, where's all the people who said that Texas was going to, burn down, destroy itself when it reopened? We've been reopened for well over a month now. Like, hasn't happened. What's going on with that, right? And one follower responded to me. We're kind of, having a little nice back and forth dialogue. And then I just told him honestly, I said, hey, man, honestly, I feel like a lot of your talking points just sound like media talking points, not really data or research based, right? And then he ended up sending me an article. And here's the funny thing: the research, like the study sent me, was only published that day, the day we recorded. So that lets me know this is something that you already read. And then when I asked him, he even admitted that he didn't even read it. But because it was from, I think it was Nature or from like some very well-renowned established thing, which at this point, let's be honest, doesn't mean much of anything. It's a lot of well-established places that research have had to recall it because new stuff comes out. And I'm not faulting them for that because new stuff's come out. But if he would have taken the time to actually read it, he would have, one, seen that what they said they were based on that, because the research, it was released that day, but the research was done back in March.
Right.
The IFR was much, much higher. He didn't have to read the whole thing. Had he just taken the time to read the abstract, he would have seen like, hey, dude, they literally said, hey, this is subject to change, but based upon what we think the IFR is right now, this is what we predict what will happen if the shutdown didn't occur. Well, we're in June now. We have way more information now. So that's not even valid.
That's the thing. Like when you piece it all together, like because you get bits and pieces, that's it. Like the Governor Cuomo, the guy that should be in jail. He should be in fucking jail. I'll say it right now. I know this is probably gonna get this video pulled, but Governor Cuomo should be in fucking jail. I mean, to put legislature in place that makes it so nursing homes and skilled nursings have to take COVID positive patients back in, and to also slide something in so that these facilities and himself and his legislature cannot be sued. Yeah. That's fucking forethought. He should be in fucking jail. Yeah. But he even said that their antibody tested that 20% of New York City had it. Okay.
And that antibody test didn't even, I think it didn't even look at people who were 18 or younger.
No.
What got me was when Cuomo came out being like, I was so surprised to find out that most of our hospitalizations are coming from the elderly who are retired or unemployed, meaning they would be out and about anyway. Why would it surprise you?
If it surprised him, he should have watched our first fucking video. That's the fucking shit. And then you apply it like, okay, well, that's New York City, and they're right on top of each other. Well, okay, then let's check out over in in San Diego. Dr. Ioannidis runs a fucking test. Comes out. Like when Dr. Ioannidis' original video, he said it's going to end up being between 0.2 and 0.3 or 0.118 or 0.3, and it fucking is like right at 0.26 or something like that according to his numbers. And everybody's like, well, it's biased because he made it. No, well, peer review that shit. But also.
He says, if you don't agree with my data, go look at the other people who've done similar tests. It shows the same thing.
Well, I loved how he put the preliminary out, and then like people were trying to rip it apart. And he was like, "Thank you for your input. Here's the revised one. Now peer review." And they're like, "Fuck," because it doesn't fit the agenda. And then when you look at the shit, the shit that gets announced that just is looked past. There are 5 cases that were like 5 people in Ohio. That their samples from coming in sick in December, their samples from December, it's not new ones, it's from December, tested positive for COVID. They are from 5 different counties. They have no relation to each other, and they can't find a back history on it. Guess what that fucking means? That means that those 5 people got it from 5 different fucking people probably. Probably, it's possible, but probably highly statistically likely that they contracted it from 5 different people who probably contracted it from 5 other different people. And it's so ridiculous. It was obviously then clearly in the United States in early December. Do we announce that? Do we say that? I saw one fucking article, but that changes the whole motherfucking timeline.
Yep.
So if you ask me, the first wave was likely during the fucking flu season.
Yep.
And then the second wave was what we just fucking went through. And there could be a 3rd wave and a 4th wave and a 5th wave. The only thing we did in my mind by locking down is we made sure that we as a society are crumbling. And we slowed down our rush to herd immunity. Because if 20% of New York City, by their own numbers, has it without including anybody under 18 years of age, they're vastly on their fucking way to herd immunity. And we just decided that we're not going to fucking accept these facts, even though one of them came from somebody at a government level who runs a whole fucking state. Words out of his mouth. And we just ignore that shit. And to me, that's the problem. I think that the media has done such a good job of scaring people.
Absolutely.
That they have the highest ratings they've ever fucking had. They've had the highest ratings they ever have.
And it's confirmation bias. It's like when the first thing you hear is this, no matter what data, what facts, what information I present to people, they still want to say, but this, what if this? And it's it's ridiculous like how that works. And then I don't know. I'm just like, you look at these different places. Like I said, take the time to look at how Japan's doing, right? Despite their huge population relative to like, you know, other places, and look at how much better off they are compared to many other places, despite the fact that their measures were nowhere near as extreme. It's like, because look how healthy they are.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. People are like, well, they wear masks all the time. Honestly, that is very clearly shown that, you know, it's not really as effective as people think. I would argue that, and that's what I was saying before I had to run away. Just as somebody that often had to wear a mask, you know, like in a clinical setting, I can tell you that watching people wear masks in Walmart, they're doing nothing but infecting themselves more possibly than anything, because they're touching their face more often. They're adjusting it. They're pulling it up and down. They're putting it in their pocket. Like, I mean, and you can clearly see, like, if you take a mask and spray some like fucking aerosol behind it, you can clearly see it go through the fucking mask. While it may minimize it a little bit, it does not protect people. And the WHO and CDC are both saying that it takes, just like other viruses, it takes some prolonged contact with somebody in a close setting. Like, telling people not to go to the beach was fucking stupid. You know, that's where people should have been. Vitamin D deficiency, we know, is actually correlated to this now. But vitamin D deficiency is also correlated with weak immune system on everybody. So everybody stay inside. It's fucking, I mean, we just made so many tactical errors. And what is happening now, and I've posted this a couple times, we had a lot of naysayers, you and I, people were on me non-fucking stop, you know, in a lot of fucking areas. And I can fucking clearly tell you, I mean, clearly fucking tell you, I don't hear them as much anymore. No, you know, like, you know, like all of a sudden they're done. You know, I mean, I had so many people be like, well, you're just trying to push your politics. My politics, here's the fucking thing. Just for the fucking record, I'm disappointed in our entire fucking leadership for closing any fucking thing down. Because their job is not to decide what is best for us. Their job is to represent us and do what's best for us, and that starts with our rights. You know, and that's why I initially pointed to this. It is very possible to, you know, still let people keep their fucking constitutional rights, and then have us all focus on helping who is most. That's why you learn shit. This was us just throwing our hands up in the air. Everybody got pussy ass scared of what could fucking happen, and they were convinced everybody to stay inside. You know, that was my biggest fucking problem. You know, and that's why everybody's like, well, you can say that. I had somebody say, well, you can say this now. I've said it the whole fucking time. Literally. I said it the whole fucking. I said it the very first instance I had, and I'm going to repost this real fucking soon. I posted from, admittedly drunk, from a cruise ship, because I saw people like, you know, talking about fucking curfews. I'm like, slow down. The government's not my fucking mom. I'll decide if I'm going to stay out past 10. They don't get the fucking right to tell me where I can fucking go, who I can fucking congregate with, like shit like that. I mean, like, they don't have the fucking right to do that. They don't have the right to do that. But let's be real. And I was like, we need to protect these people, because having them out and about does not protect them. It absolutely does not. So the way we handle this, both Democrats, Republicans, independents, everything like that, the way it was majority handled hurt people. To me, people, like tens of thousands of Americans died in how this was handled across the board by our leadership. That's why I was doing the hashtag reelect nobody in 2022. The players for 2020 are pretty fucking set. 2022 and forward, we should reelect no motherfucking body. And I mean nobody, because this shows that they really kind of want to rule us, in my opinion, and tell us what we can and can't do, versus fucking like looking at fucking data. Like the concept that we can't figure out how to save these elderly people when they're already in nursing homes and shit like that is so, like, don't insult my intelligence. You know, like, that's disgusting to me.
And then I tell people, this is what I think is funny, since they keep hitting the goalposts, since now it's gone from, it's from millions to, well, look, this many people still die. And I ask people this, I asked someone this trip, I'm like, let me ask you something. If they knew from the start that only that many people were going to die, right? I'm like, do you really think most people would have been down to shut down for that many people? If you're being honest with yourself? No. Yeah. You can say that's selfish. You can say that's cruel, that's cold, but that is the world we live in. Yeah. And nobody would have been saying that, 80,000, 100,000 people dying justified a nationwide shutdown. Nobody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing you then look at, I mean, and it's one of the things that makes up a pandemic. Are people dying that normally wouldn't be dying? Like that's a question. That's a question to ask. When the average age of death in like places like Quebec is over the average life expectancy. Like if I lived in Quebec after seeing those numbers, I'd be fucking pissed if my business got shut down. I'd be fucking I mean, I'm pissed to begin with. But mine didn't get shut down. I still fucking made money. I didn't even take the fucking $1,200 shit. Nobody in my fucking household did because we were doing fine. Why take somebody else's money that could go someplace else, right?
Yeah.
You know.
And to kind of bring it back full circle, we have to think about too, because people act like these issues are totally separate, but it's like they're not. It's like, okay, look at what happened with George Floyd and the riots and stuff. Look at all the damage that caused. Look at the lives that were lost due to that. Do y'all really think, honestly, because this is the first time something like that has happened, do you really think that if everybody didn't have all this built up tension, already sitting at home, already zoned in with nothing to do, that it would have been on this level? Now that we can say it's good or bad, right? So on one end, I think it's good that a lot of dialogue has started from all the attention that was brought. But on the other hand, a lot of the destruction, lives lost that came with it. You don't really think that if this didn't happen right after like the shutdown, and people don't want to have that conversation either.
Well, I look at the whole incident as in a couple fold, right? The cop, and I don't even know his name. I haven't bothered to learn his name. The murderer. He is a horrible human being who I believe felt emboldened by the power that had been forced upon police most of the time. Like we were expecting police officers to all of a sudden enforce things that go against their oath, against the Constitution, right? The second that happens, like the second that you can say you aren't allowed to be outside, like that type of thing for a horrible person, and there are bad cops and good cops. I mean, there's bad people and good people. That type of power over people for a bad person is not fucking healthy, So would he have normally done it? Likelihood. I think he just felt more brazen to do it. Like he stared into a fucking camera he had to have known he was being recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, he stared into a fucking camera for 8 fucking minutes. He's a monster,
Nobody thought, man, this looks bad. I should probably get off this guy.
Yeah. At no point in time, he was like reveling in it, like he's a horrible fucking human being, Now, when people are getting arrested for jogging on the beach and people are applauding it, like they're applauding somebody getting arrested for being on a fucking beach by themselves.
Yeah.
When we reach a stage where we can suspend human rights to that nature, to me, I believe I said it multiple times. We're going to start having civil unrest. I even said in one video, something is going to catalyze something that is going to start off mass riots. Like you and I have, to me, it's not like a lucky thing, and it's not a special thing. It's just the application of logic.
You pay attention to patterns. And common sense to be like, well, this is probably going to lead to this. And you're right about things. Like, but what really frustrates me is there's a video. It was this woman, and I believe it was in New York. She was walking like up the stairs into the subway station, something like that, with her child. Wasn't wearing a mask. I guess someone called someone on her. And it was like 3 or 4 cops, just took her down and put her to the ground. In front of her child because she wasn't wearing a mask, and it's 4 cops. This is a small woman, 4 cops, and yet I saw people in the comments, including black people. This is what really threw me for a loop, being like, "Well, she just put the mask on." She'd be like, "That was blatant police brutality."
Yeah,
and it's like it's so funny the lack of consistency. It's disgusting. It's wild.
Somebody just said masks do something. We don't need to downplay their role that much, and not all masks are the same. Since not all masks are the same, and there's been no instruction on how to put one on. Masks do more damage than good. I will fucking say it. If you put a mask on your face, take it off, adjust it, or put it back on, you have completely negated what that mask does. Now, you're trying to save other people. Those other people shouldn't be out and about. Those other people should be isolated because a mask is not going to fucking save them. That's the thing. If that would be the case, they wouldn't have had to go back and delete all sorts of CDC and WHO files about masks aren't important. This is just something you are being totally fucking sold. That's all. You're being totally sold that you need to wear this mask. I will not wear one. I will wear one if I'm in a clinical setting or around an immunocompromised person that I know is immunocompromised. But in my general going about and about, I will wear one in front of my mother, 10 out of 10. Somebody's grandmother, 10 out of 10. I just going out. If I know I'm going to see an immunocompromised person, I will absolutely wear one. But I will choose restaurants that don't enforce it, which is Florida. The waitresses and bartenders don't even need to wear one, which is fucking rock star. Because You are not going to give me a medical procedure, which is you're trying to eliminate me from taking in certain viruses. You are not going to make me have a medical procedure without my fucking consent. It's not going to fucking happen. I mean, that's what wearing masks is. And I just don't believe that I believe they're doing more damage than good. I can, and I don't want to take pictures of people. That's why I didn't do it. But like, we went to a place called BJ's. It's like the Costco here in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee you, every person wearing a mask that I was around, I saw them touch the masks like fucking 15, 16 times. That in of itself is going to get that person, infected if they get around something. Then they'll infect other people. It spreads the virus. Somebody just said masks are for slowing down the velocity of your saliva particles when you speak and breathe. It doesn't stop them. And again, you need to be in close proximity with a symptomatic person, according to the data, to be infected. So
let's be clear. It's not to say, listen, it's not even a matter of like, absolutely nothing in every single circumstance and context. It's the fact that the vast majority of people that you see walking around in masks, while they're outside, in their cars, just in the stores, you're not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, until, like, I can show you like the World Health Organization, the CDC, other experts. Okay, could they possibly help a little bit? Yes, but in very reality, it can also help infect people too. Like, I mean, it's just so. I find it amazing that they were saying for a while, they were saying wear gloves and wear this, and wear gloves, wear masks. They were saying these things, and there was all sorts of things like safer at home together and blah blah blah. They're getting fucking Matthew McConaughey to fucking sell the fuck out and say all this stupid shit, because Matthew McConaughey said it because his life's not a fucking we should whatever, but. They're saying all this shit, but not one fucking time did I see the government or public service announcement come out and be like, here is how you put a mask on. Here are the masks that work. Here, like, people wearing cloth masks, shut up. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, stop it. It's so devoid of logic, Here's the fucking reality. For all you in the comments section that are saying, well, masks help, masks do this, masks do that. What we are experiencing right now is a novel virus, very clearly. What we know about it right now is who very clearly it is affecting. We do not do this for the flu. We did not do this for MERS. We did not do this for anything like that. If I was a parent, my child would not wear a mask. I'm not going to traumatize my child into thinking that they could kill somebody with their breath. That's not fucking happening. Like, we need to think about if I saw one article on it. This is going to sound very harsh, and all of you can hate me for more than you already do. But if we are saving people's lives that are at the end of their life, and we are ruining young people's lives right now, we are doing things that generationally will affect people. Poverty, depression. I mean, if we really gave, like, I'm telling you this right now, if you really gave a fuck about equality, open every motherfucking thing right now, because the businesses that are dying right now are businesses that are owned by corporations. The businesses that are dying right fucking now are independently owned by minorities. And like, they're the first ones to fucking go. Like, there's the first businesses to go. Do you think in a place like in a place where some of these riots are happening, which is predominantly African American or predominantly minority areas in cities, those businesses are shut for good? You know who's going to fill that void? Who's going to fill that fucking need? A bigger business owned by corporations. Money goes out of the fucking economy. It doesn't come in. Like, Crystal and I have this thing where we don't make money in our economy, like in our local economy. We don't make money here. We make money from everywhere, from fucking Australia through Japan, everywhere, right? We don't actually, I have no in-person clients, right? So, but we only try to spend money here.
Yeah.
Like, we own, like, I do almost no shopping on Amazon. I try to shop at Walmart as minimally as possible. If I need a tool for something I'm doing, I go to the local hardware store that's now closed because it was minority owned, and fucking Walmart was able to stay open. They weren't, like, stupid shit, like, so if you really care about minorities, if you really think that, fucking make fucking sure that you fucking open businesses.
See, once again, though, it's not that works, Alan, if you're trying to actually be consistent in your views and your logic and your values. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people, they jump from one thing to the next without thinking about inconsistency.
Yeah.
Once again, a lot of it is virtue signaling. A lot of it is I need something to be about, and fight for, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's like even the fact of like, okay, I'm going to go to a Walmart because I'm told that it's okay, it's open, even though there's so much foot traffic going on in there. But I'm going to be scared to go to a park with one friend and toss a football back and forth. What sense does that make outside? Like it's absolutely crazy and ridiculous. And the thing is, like people once again, people keep making the argument of we had to do something. We have said so many times in every single one of these videos that we believe you should have done something. We've expressed what we think we should have done. We're just saying that we don't think it's indiscriminate shutdown. And I'm so tired of even people being like, well, the indiscriminate shutdown was still better than doing nothing. Based upon the data of nations and states that did nothing, that is not true.
That is not true.
That's not a data-based point. And that's my thing. I'm down to discuss, to disagree, to have back and forth dialogue. But if I can show you actual numbers to back what I'm saying, and you can't show me anything, it's very hard for me to take that conversation seriously. It's like it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, are we just going to agree to disagree? Because like if you won't acknowledge the numbers I'm showing you and you have no numbers for me, I don't see how we can shift each other's view.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, and I'm getting a lot of I get a lot of now because the data's out now. Like, you guys can't lie and say, because that's what it is. People were just out and out fucking lying, saying it was like the fucking plague. You know, I talked with Mark Bell recently. You know, I did an interview. He was like, he was like, I'm thinking this is supposed to be like the movie Contagion, where people are just falling over in the fucking street. You know what I mean? Like, it's old people and immunocompromised people that are having fucking issues. Let's be like, that's fact now. It's fact. It's fact, right? But then you get into like, people are now like, well, but we're sure that it causes long-term lung problems and long-term this. And what I normally answer that when you've already talked about it, like, okay, it does. Absolutely. So does the flu. So do very bad colds. People get chronic bronchitis all the fucking time. People smoke. We don't do shit about that. People are exposed to secondhand smoke. We don't do shit about that. It's so much shit that people are trying to clamor onto this. Like, it's, from my opinion, and this is my opinion, people. I know that bothers a few people, and you can give yours, but from my opinion, it looks like a bunch of people that know deep down, they know that they chose wrong. Yeah. And they're trying to justify why it was okay that they chose wrong. Yeah. Absolutely. And here's the thing, I'm not expecting an apology. I don't think you're expecting an apology, but I mean, when we were clearly saying this is the right path, and then data and everything like that, when you look, I had somebody say like hindsight's 2020. My foresight seemed to be fucking 2022, bitches. So was yours. So with a bunch of other people, because I didn't just say, oh, Dr. Fauci must know what the fuck's going on. He's a 40-year politician. Why wouldn't he fucking lie? You know, I mean, this mother, like, everybody's like, well, what does Fauci say? Who fucking cares what he fucking says? You cannot make radical change to a bunch of different things, such as the economy, such as, the healthcare system. Like, the 150,000 cancer cases are caught in pre-screenings every fucking month. You know that? Every fucking month, 150,000 cancer cases are caught. 2 months worth, 3 months worth of none of those appointments. Yeah. You don't think people are going to die from that shit? You don't think people are going to fucking be miserable from that shit? Fuck you. You're stupid. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like literally, we did one thing because, and I have another video on the small channel where I talk about the safari of our life, and nobody watched it because it was like I didn't mention COVID or anything like that. I was just about a safari, but we focused directly on a predator, COVID. We're in a fucking massive jungle, right? And we're just focused on that thing. We're making sure it doesn't get the weakest members of our pack. Like that's literally what we're trying to do, right? We're trying so hard to do that we're not looking to the left for the fucking lion that's over there. We're not looking to the right for the fucking alligator or the poisonous snakes or the poisonous spiders. We're actually, like, literally fucking deciding that, none of that shit seems to fucking exist in the world of COVID. We're acting like suicide rates aren't tied to depression, aren't tied to unemployment, aren't tied to stuff like that. We're talking like people, like I saw people be like, you just want to get your hair done. No, motherfucker, she probably wants to feed her fucking children. Yeah. Like it was such a class fucking thing where these people are saying, just stay home. It sounds to me like you're not fucking hungry.
Yeah.
Because you know,
speaking from a point of privilege. I said that so many times. I'm like, listen, if you are sitting here like, I'm going to stay in as long as they tell me to, and if you don't, you're a bad person. You are speaking from a point of privilege. Not everybody can work from home. Not everybody is in a situation where they're not living from check to check. So if you want to do that, and you can do that, great. But you cannot expect everybody else, especially those who live in poverty, to be okay with that. Well, they got the check. $1,200?
$1,200.
What's that going to do for somebody who's living check to check?
Uh-huh.
Like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like it's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. And and it's strange. Like I said, you don't fix a problem by ignoring every other problem that exists and hyper focusing all your resources on just that. It doesn't make any sense.
It's like we couldn't chew gum and walk at the same fucking time. It was disgustingly stupid. Like, and I mean, I find myself, and I hate to sit in judgment of people like that, but like that's stupid. Like, I mean, you're acting like this. Like we were acting like these consequences weren't known. Like I said it, you said it. Like these are no. This is shit that's going to fucking. I even said I was like, yeah. I even said civil unrest will fucking happen. It will fucking happen because people can act like this is about Black Lives Matter and all that shit. From what I'm seeing, most of the people that are fucking, they want police reform. What you don't want, like, unless you're mentioning George Floyd right now and that shit and other people and other minorities that have been having it, you're just trying to get police reform. You're literally taking a fucking a cause and you're stealing it. Okay, but it just doesn't make sense to me how, you know. Here's my thing. Let's address it the way you said at the very beginning. Let's address education. Let's address like making sure we have equal fucking rights. Let's address this on a fucking real level. Let's address this on a real fucking level because we're actually not. This is doing nothing. The riots and shit like that. This is only causing division. Protests, different. Riots, stealing other people's shit. The very second one person steals something during a protest, it literally, and I mean fucking literally, removes the meaning from that fucking protest.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's unfortunate because it's like I've told people, I'm like, listen, I can sit here and say all day that, hey, don't let the rioting and don't let all this distract from what's really going on. But the reality is, it's going to. Yeah. It's going to. People are not, and that's why I said it causes more harm than good in this case. Not always, but in this case, people are going to look at this. And especially when you get to the point where the officers one was already being charged, the others were already being investigated, and they're getting arrested, and you still see it going on. People who are logical, who maybe don't understand everything going on in the background, who maybe haven't experienced any type of racism themselves, they're just gonna be like, well, I don't get it. They're mad because this guy killed, these people killed George Floyd. These people being arrested. Why are they destroying their own stuff? Why are they hurting and killing innocent people? Yeah. Like that is how a lot of people are gonna look at it. And you can say all day that, well, that's because they haven't taken the time to look into it. They don't understand. They're prejudiced. Blah, blah. I'm like, listen, everybody, every single human being is going to focus on what they can relate to more. For a lot of us in the Black community, when we see George Floyd dead, we see that as, wow, that could be me. So we relate strongly to it. But when you're, let's say, a local business owner, or you live in an area and you see areas being destroyed, innocent people being killed, when the people who did the wrong are being arrested, you're probably going to relate more to that. And that's something that I've been saying that I don't like. I absolutely hate when people are like, if you focus more on this than this, then you're a bad person. One, you can care about both. You are allowed to think that what happened to George Floyd was wrong, and also think that rioting and destroying people's property and killing innocent people is also wrong.
It's also wrong.
Because both are wrong. You're allowed to think that both are wrong. And you're allowed to be understanding of, well, I understand why they're doing this, but I still don't agree with it. You're allowed to do that. There's been so much like finger pointing and, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I posted this thing on my story like a while ago being like, hey, there's multiple lanes to this stuff. You don't have to be in all of them. It absolutely is disgusting to me that you have people like, look, whether you posted something to be more socially aware, whether you donated, whether you're taking the time to try to look at, okay, well, why do these issues happen? You're doing something. But it's so many people who are more focused on pointing out like, well, this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do, and this is what the government needs to do. But I always tell people the first thing you always need to do is, what do I need to do in the situation first? What do I need to do to educate myself? What do I need to take personal responsibility for myself? What do I need to do? Because it's very frustrating for me when I see some people who are trying to take the time to be like, hey, I'm trying to understand this. I stand with you guys. But they take the time to maybe write a post and explain it. And instead of just being happy that they're trying to take the time to understand, you want to pick it apart and be like, well, I don't agree with this, that.
Right.
Where's the unity at?
Right.
Like, it's very simple. Be unified in standing against injustice. Be unified standing against police brutality. Be unified standing against racism. But instead, it's once again divisive rhetoric.
Yeah. Somebody wrote in the comments, the mission is not exempt if people loot. That is a symptom of the cancer of society. Nobody cares about Antifa, and that is just a distraction.
That's not real life. That's not real life.
That's not logic.
Let me respond to this.
Okay. Good.
So, and this is coming from me as a black man who was very distraught and very hurt by what happened with George Floyd. But let me ask you this. Okay. Like I said, the reason why when we see George Floyd, something like that happen, the reason it's so hurtful and frustrating is like, yo, that could be me. That could be my father, my brother, my sister, right? Mm-hmm. If you just finished having like your business shut down, not able to provide for yourself or your family, and you finally can open up, and then let's say you come to your business being looted, being destroyed, you don't think that that's going to not have an impact? You think they're going to be like, oh, well, this is just a distraction. I shouldn't care about this. If you come home to your house burning down and your child is inside of it,
right?
You see people burning it down. How dare you tell that parent or tell that person that, well, you shouldn't care about this. You should focus more on this issue that I'm dealing with. That's disgusting. That's so selfish. That's completely selfish. Everybody has different views on different issues. You can care about all of them multiple across the board. And no one's saying that the mission is exempt. What we're saying is you are causing harm to the cause. You are causing harm to the mission. Because you're taking people who potentially were on your side who are not going to be like, well, man, I don't know how to feel about this anymore.
The person just told you that you need to understand what anti-racism is. Yeah. Oh,
that's been the greatest thing, man. Especially like, and mind you, I'm a big believer that facts are facts regardless of where they come from. If you're white and you're telling the truth, I receive it. If you're black and telling the truth, I receive it. But I will say one of the funniest things during this whole thing that has happened is having very extremely, and I don't know if this person, but I'm just saying in general, having very extremely liberal white individuals tell me how I should feel about this as a black man. That is hilarious to me. That's great. Telling me that I don't understand this and that, as if though I haven't been living this for 26 years. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
And don't even brought up Antifa. That's the best thing. Don't say anything about Antifa.
Yeah. I mean, like that's people need to understand, okay? Anytime you're trying to talk about something and something gets attached to it, like looting. Yes, here's the thing. Here's why your logic is broken. You're absolutely right. That's a distraction. That's why it's stupid. That's why it hijacks it. Okay? Exactly. Like you literally showed your own thing. I mean, like and people saying Antifa is not there. I'm sorry, but I'm having a hard time believing that. I'm having a hard time believing that. Here's the thing, it could be everywhere. It could be everybody from fucking Antifa to the Klan to anybody trying to make this shit look bad. You know what I mean? Like it could be anything. Like it could be the police themselves. It could be whatever. But whenever we allow violence to happen in the streets, when we're trying to reform a system, once violence starts, you need to burn the system down. Here's reality and I hope people from the whatever zone in Seattle are listening. If the government wanted to fuck you up, they would have fucked you the fuck up. In this time, in this time frame, and people don't seem to understand. In this time frame of what has been happening, no fucking shit. The U.S. military announced that they now have a laser weapon that can shoot a plane out of the fucking sky, a missile out of the fucking sky. They've tested it. It works. And by the time they announced that shit, trust me, they've tested it for a long fucking time, and it works. Like works, right? If you think that they're worried about some people standing there with guns trying to patrol a six area city block, like if this gets fucking nasty, it could really get fucking nasty. They don't want it to. Like they're letting you run itself out. If you wanted to stop the riots, put everybody back to work. People would go back to work almost instantaneously. It's fucking reality, you know? But it's to me like the taking over of people's businesses and everything like that so took away from George Floyd. That so took away from what we're doing. So you're telling me that racist, dumbass, disgusting motherfuckers who judge people based on the color of their skin or nationality and nothing more. Stupid people, really fucking moronic people, dumbass motherfuckers. I don't think I can express that enough. That's how I feel about racism. You're telling me that they're not going to view people stealing other people's businesses, property, hurting other people, taking over city blocks of land that is not theirs. You're telling me that that's going to change their opinion somehow.
Right. Yeah.
I call bullshit. I think that most of these people want to make it about them.
Oh,
I really think so.
They want to be the hero of their own story, and that's why because I've talked to some of these people with these extreme views, and it's like you explain to them, hey, listen, this is the background I come from. These are the issues. Here's what we need to focus on. Here's how you fix it. And they want to go to these other extremes, and I'm like, that's not realistic. That's not going to happen. Listen, in a perfect utopian world where you think that this thing will work, that's great. But this is real life. I want real solutions. To actually help. Real policies, real legislation, real reform that's going to actually help from anybody. But specifically right now, I'm talking like minorities from dealing with certain things. And I love the double speak things. Like for example, abolish the police. But when I say abolish the police, what I really mean is A, B, C, and D. It's like, okay, well, listen, A, B, and C, and D sound really, really good. But when you present it as abolish the police without explaining that you really mean A, B, C, and D, most people aren't going to take the time to even listen to you because most people think that that's moronic. And then the few people who will listen to you are going to be those extremists that nobody wants to have a discussion with. And it's funny because you keep saying like, oh, when I say defund the police, I really mean do this. I'm like, oh, so you mean reform? Well, then just say that. Because when you say abolish the police, most people are going to think you mean abolish the police.
Right. Yeah.
Like what?
Well, and the person says, right, no use helping old and confirmed racists. It's a waste of time. Yes, but what you're fucking not understanding. And I'm sorry that logic isn't your thing, dude. Like commenter, Talissa, whatever. I'm sorry that logic isn't your thing. But what you're not understanding is there are certain people that are going to be racist, stupid ass, moronic motherfuckers no matter what. But if all of a sudden a person who isn't necessarily racist sees for some reason people looting their property in the name of Black Lives Matter or something like that, trust on this shit, it could change their fucking opinion. And it could make shit worse.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's one thing if you take the time to establish, like, and maybe have like, hey, this is separate from us. We are about peace, but this is separate from us. But unfortunately, you have a lot of people who will defend it and justify it. So and that's why I tell people you gotta be so careful to make the distinction between protests, between rioters, between the message of Black Lives Matters versus maybe the organization, or certain people who claim the organization maybe don't represent what they're really about. You have to make that distinction because I'm sorry, I've talked to people about that who are like, yo, man, I'm with George Floyd, I'm with that, but all this other stuff, I'm not with that. And it's like that's a potential person who was standing with you who now isn't sure how they feel about it because it's like, well, when you say Black Lives Matters, does that mean this or does that mean this? And you can say, well, that should be obvious. It's not when the media is showing this, and the third. It's not.
You know, I mean, we've reached a stage in our society right now where I think me and you and I have talked about it before. We have the world of wealth and knowledge in our hand. Like, I mean, seriously, everybody has a smartphone. You can look up shit. You can fucking do whatever. It's amazing how stupid people are. Like, it's made us dumber. Like, having access to so much information has made us dumber. What do you think about social media platforms, like, obviously, showing obvious bias during this? Like very realistically, Ianitis's shit was deleted off Twitter and Facebook also too. Yeah. Like, I'm just disgusted. Like, that's why on our new website, the Damn Collective website, we have our own social media built inside of it. I'm getting away from Facebook and all that shit. Like, I'm using Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to piss people off. But like actual conversation I'm having on the damn forum, like, because I just don't and everybody's like, well, that's a closed unit. It may be, but like, people have their choice to come and go. And I just don't see any point in being on, like, if I know I'm going to be censored, which Instagram's been censoring me forever, but if I know I'm going to be censored, why be there?
To me, the issue is like, okay, when you claim that, okay, when we block something or remove something or censor something, it's for community guidelines. It's to protect people from misinformation. This isn't that. Okay, fine, whatever. Like, if someone's out here putting a video up and like, hey, go kill Black people, please, by all means, remove that video with the clip. But my issue is this: you have an expert presenting numbers, data facts, not even telling you how to feel about it, not saying that something was right or wrong, just giving you factual database information. But you remove it because it goes against whatever like extreme narrative you have. That's crazy to me. That's wild to me. And it's so blatant. And then my things, I'm like, okay, wait, but if I go find other stuff that is actual misinformation that's not based off data, they agree with your narrative, but the numbers are giving you wrong, but I don't see that getting removed, even though it's got millions of views. It's crazy to me, and it's blatant bias. And it blows my mind that you point that out to people, and I'm like, how can y'all not understand that there is a narrative to be used here? It's like it's so blatantly obvious. You're removing anything that goes against what you're saying, even if it's based upon factual information. It's wild to me.
Yeah, it's like for him, I was honestly kind of taken aback at how people reacted when I posted Ioannidis's first statement.
Oh, it's wild.
I was like, that was like one of the. I think I even messaged you like, can you fucking believe how people are having a hard time with this, like, or something like that. I forget what it was, like, because I was just like, and everybody's like, well, he's this, he's not Fauci, he's this. He's actually more fucking qualified than Fauci.
Yes, to speak on that particular topic.
Yes,
and my thing is, people keep bringing up Fauci. I'm like, the dude who's on like one of the councils for vaccinations, the dude's been in politics for years, the dude that clearly would have some type of financial incentive for the view that the dude who said we're never going to shake hands again, the dude who said there's no way we can open the schools back up in the fall, the dude who decided that we're going to follow Ferguson's model, who's been historically incorrect. Come on, man. The dude who at one point back in February was quoted saying that we're gonna be fine, like we shouldn't even need to shut down, it can't spread person to person. Like, that's another thing that I love, man. I'm like, WHO has been wrong, Fauci has been wrong, the CDC has to change things multiple times, and once again, that's fine, more information is coming out, but using this appeal of authority to Fauci, I don't understand it. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense.
Ioannidis is a researcher for ophthalmology and population level, like it's like population health. Like, that's who we need to talk to. Somebody who understands population health, because it's not just viral. It's not our health is not just viral. Our health is emotional. Our health is it's biological. It's viral. There's so many implications in it that, like, stress is a huge thing. We have just stressed people out to the point of fucking. When the numbers, and here's what everybody that fucking hated me for all this shit, I forgive you, because when the numbers actually fall the fuck out, you're going to feel really fucking stupid. When we show how many people died of heart attacks needlessly because they couldn't go to a fucking hospital during this time, when we show how many suicides more this creates, when we see how many people's lives are destroyed, I mean, loss of job, loss of everything like that, like how far this has set society back. There's no fucking way deep down in your fifis you're going to be able to get there that you're going to think this was fucking worth it.
Yeah,
I mean, that was my fear to begin with. The fucking reality. If we would extrapolate out the number of people that died fighting for our rights, fighting for the Constitution, for us to be able to have rights, if we would extrapolate that out to our population right now, it would be 3.3 million people died for our rights. 3.3 million people. Remember this July 4th, you fucks. 3.3 million people died. Would have over 1% of the population died trying to get our rights. We literally just tried to burn that shit down. Okay? Even if it would have been the 2 million people would have died, even if it would have been, it still wouldn't have been worth society. It just wouldn't have been, especially once we knew how many fucking, like, who this was going at. And once I saw, okay, from Italy, and already knowing Italy has a massive amount of smokers, not just elderly people, a lot of fucking people, right? Every fucking generational thing, massive smokers. They live on top of each other, multi-generational homes. I mean, it's like population density in the cities that were being hit are fucking massive. Their fucking healthcare system failed 2 years before during the fucking flu
season.
During the fucking flu. It crashed and burned. They had fucking tens of thousands more deaths from the flu that year than they should have, because they couldn't because their hospital system sucked.
Yeah.
When their information came out and it said that 80% of the people that passed away were over the age of 75, that is a very clear indication. Like, well, and I think we even said, I was like, population dense areas are going to have a hard fucking time. But like, if you live in the country, you should just be able to do your fucking shit. Why? I don't get it. And not to mention that you have a right to. Like, I had somebody ask me the other day, would you sign a voucher, a waiver? Fuck, right, motherfucking now. right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all these things are very fucking true. All these the information we had coming out of coming out of everywhere. If you look at the information, if you look at the data, we knew who it was targeting. We knew what we should do. It was very clear. It is the same as every fucking virus. It just happens to kill a little differently. It always goes after immunocompromised elderly people. Very rarely. The flu kills more healthy people than this.
And more young people. This is pretty much like for young people, except, like once again, the whole like, oh, but it's killed young healthy people. You look at it, they're obese, not healthy. Yeah. But and even the damage to young people. And that's what really had me like shook when we're talking about like, oh, can we reopen schools? Kids pretty much don't even transmit this thing. Like they're good. It's absolutely wild. And like we said, it's not, you can't just say, oh, in hindsight, because a lot of this information was out there. A lot of nations were already acting on this information. And we, the mainstream media tried to demonize and bastardize those nations. And now you look at the overall case and death and hospitalization rates, and you account everything and that's the best part. That's what I tell people. Ultimately, if you scale everything for population and demographic, regardless of what interventions were or weren't taken, the results are pretty much almost the same when you scale for that.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. The best thing we could have done to avoid a lot of deaths here was have people be healthier before it hit.
Yep.
That's just facts.
If only somebody would have been fucking saying that you only have one body and you should treat it like such. If only would have had somebody for years who was fucking screaming into a camera saying, this body's all you got, take care of it. Fucking yeah. So somebody should make a YouTube channel about that shit. Fucking assholes. But that's, I did, because dude, I don't know about you, but I received death threats and shit from this. Like fucking phone calls and shit. Like, I'm gonna come kill you. Like, I am.
Well, I did have a couple people, like, when I talk about my story, be like, I wish that you would just go outside, so like that, so that COVID could just take you out because you're spitting. But I'm like, wait, so you're about saving lives, but now you want me to go out and die? That doesn't really make sense. And what's not crazy is with everything that I put, like how I talk, present things, nothing was aggressive or coming from anyone. I'm just putting out information. I'm just putting out data. I'm saying, hey, take the time to look at this. Form your own opinion, but take the time to look at this. But people get caught up once again, and it's mob mentality. It's groupthink.
Somebody's saying we were late and reactionary, which hurt us all. No. Like, our tactic was wrong. Our shutdowns were wrong. Period. Yeah. Shutdowns were wrong. Like, I mean, as society, like, there's literally fucking cities on fire right now. Shutdown was wrong. Get there. Everybody needs to fucking get there. Everybody's like, well, the riots would have happened anyway. No, they absolutely would not. They absolutely
not on this level. Not on this level. Not on this level. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't. And that's my opinion, of course, but I don't fucking see that.
Like I said, George, for a lot of people, I'll put it this way. The fact that you have so many people being like, wow, I didn't know this was happening like this. You want to know why they didn't know that? They weren't tuned in. They weren't paying attention. They're living their everyday lives. You want to know why they paid attention this time? Because they're at home. They're not working. So to think that it wouldn't have happened on this level, to think it would have happened on this level anyway, I personally don't believe it. I really don't.
Here's how you know when the media wants you to be scared and when they want you to be scared. Okay? Here's how you know. For the last 3 months, the only thing that has been on TV is COVID. We've literally watched a death ticker for the last 3 months, right? We were at war in Afghanistan for fucking 10 years, and they never showed that shit on the news, ever. Like, people, friends of mine, died over there. Friends of mine that came back didn't come back whole physically or mentally, okay? And I take serious fucking offense to the fact that it wasn't being shown on TV. Because I personally think that if we are a country and we're going to stand up and we're going to say we're going to go to war with somebody, we need to fucking all face it together. We need to fucking see what's happening. We need, like, how that shit was treated was disgusting to me. Because maybe we would have all not been so behind going to war or staying at war for shit that didn't involve our fucking freedom. And that to me is upsetting. In of its own. But we didn't watch as people passed away on both sides of a war over who the fuck knows what. You know, that was not shown on the news. It was not shown at all. It was avoided. Like at one point in time, you know, I mean, they almost like outlawed showing the fucking 9/11 towers coming down, the Twin Towers coming down. You know, like the media wanted to hide that shit from us because they didn't want us to be scared. They really, like, we were on the brink of global fucking war. Not on TV for 10 fucking years, right? Yeah. This shit, everything ties into it. And they're trying everything they can to scare people, including shaming people on beaches not wearing masks when they're wearing a mask, acting like, aren't you afraid of the fucking, aren't you afraid of killing people? And then you see them without a fucking, without a mask on. Yeah, we need to fucking wake up. Like, if you really, I hope we have we're actually woke now. If you really want to fucking. If you really want to fucking be involved, open your motherfucking eyes and stop just believing what the media tells you, because they'll tell you whatever the fuck you want. Stop listening to what the government, the media, facts are fucking facts. That's why the suppression of people like Dr. Unitas. That's why that is one of the more scary fucking things to me.
Absolutely.
You got some fucking moron on Twitter deciding that Dr. John Ioannidis is not worth fucking listening to, but some racist motherfucker can be.
Yeah.
That's the fucking thing. It's clear, very fucking clear, Yeah. It's just stupid. It's the stupidity of our fucking species right now is we are stupiding ourselves to death. We are pandering and stupiding ourselves to death. Here's the thing. This all started because we didn't want to have a very serious, real conversation with each other. We tried to save every fucking body, right? That's not reality. Grandma dies. Okay. She really does. We needed to accept the fact that this is going after old people. Can we save them for the most part? What can we do to save them? But let's be very fucking real. Just like every novel virus that comes out, most of the time, people are going to fucking die.
Yeah. Like we said, people die from the flu every year and nobody seems to care because you're so used to it. And that's the power of it, right? It's like hyper focus on this, present it as new, present it scary, put this death ticker up, make sure it's the only thing you're thinking of, keep you at home so it's the only thing you're looking at. It's wild. Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I want to look something up for us here. Just for people, okay? Because people have been glued to this site called Worldometer, right? First of all, I would love, they got fucking ads galore on that motherfucker. I bet you they're making bank ass money. Like bank ass money. So everybody needs to understand that is a for-profit website that has probably made more money in the last 2 months than it's ever fucking made. Okay. But this year, just this year, let's see, there have been 771,343 people die from AIDS across the world. 3,768,442 people now have died of cancer. 450,000 people have died from malaria. 2,293,773 people, according to the website that everybody's glued to, just on a different page, have died from smoking. 1,147,611 people have died from alcohol this year. And there have been 492,000 deaths by suicide this year in the world. There has been 619,392 road traffic fatalities this year. Yank your heads out of your motherfucking asses, people. People die of more shit. Like it's just a real fucking thing that people don't seem to understand. That death fucking happens. We wanted to avoid having the hard conversation with people. I sat down with my mom. I talk about immunocompromised people in my life all the time. But my people that watch my channel know that a couple of years ago, my mother almost died. I actually lived in the fucking ICU waiting room for like 3 months. The conversation I had with her was, I'm not going to be able to see you again, and I might never get to. So we had a hard conversation. But reality is that doesn't change the fact that this is a very real fucking thing. Yeah. Like that's going to happen no matter what. The death rate, people need to understand this too. It's such a conflation of numbers because they don't get it. They think that they can affect the death rate. That's not true. You know what can affect the death rate? Just like you said, us going back in time and making people healthier. Yeah. That's the only thing that can affect it right now. The death rate for this is going to be the death rate for this. It's just it is what it is. The infection rate, yes, that might be different, but we can't stop the elderly people and the immunocompromised people from getting infected by social distancing and using masks. You know why? Because then this wouldn't be an issue. We would have stopped. Social distancing did nothing but flatten the curve on the elderly and the sick. That's all it did. It didn't get, we never were in danger, if you ask me, of our fucking hospitals being overrun. It didn't look that way to me. We had, even in New York City, where we had the majority of the problems, we had a ship there that never got used. We had the fucking Java Center that never got fucking used. We had all those fucking things that never got used. We had 30,000 ventilators sitting in fucking storage that Cuomo all of a sudden forgot about, and then when called upon realized about. Lying ass sack of shit. Fucking crazy shit. So we didn't want to have the hard conversation with people that grandma or sick people might die, because a lot of people in our country are sick from shit they've done to themselves, from lifestyle shit. So we can't make those people feel bad. Fuck that. I mean, if this is a wake up call. I don't begrudge people that have treated their bodies like they have a spare up until now. I don't begrudge you. I run a whole fucking business. One of our businesses is helping people like that get healthy and understanding healthy lifestyle habits. We take it very seriously. We try very, very hard to teach people new healthy skills so they can live a long fucking time and not be worried about shit like this. But this is not a fucking surprise. People that treat their bodies like shit have been dying from random easy shit for a long fucking time. If you to be very fucking clear, if you look at New York City's numbers, which we were so worried, and everybody's like, well, that's just New York City. All of a sudden now it's just New York City, but
whereas before it was, hey, look at New York,
look at New York. Hey, look at New York, look at New York.
Yeah.
107 people out of the almost 18,000 have died that did not have immunocompromisations. Get there, people. Fucking get there. This disease killed elderly and sick people. Most of the time sick from what they fucking do. And we know it's killing people, yet Domino's pizzas deliveries are up fucking 5,000%. All that shit. We went through a period in time right now where we're just too fucking stupid right now. We're stupiding ourselves out of fucking existence. We need to get there. In my mind, we need to get there. That's why I think you should run for office at some point in time. Dude, I really mean it. You could get elected. I would never be able to get elected. I'd never be able to get elected. But you could, and you should. If you have aspirations of that, you should absolutely do it, because we need people that think. We need people that fucking use logic. We need people that look out for everybody's good, the greater good, because this was not the greater good, people. This was not. This was not the greater good. At no point in time can anybody say this was for the greater good. Stats, facts back then and now don't support that shit. Yeah. The media made you think this was for the greater good. The media did.
That's something you have to be careful of. You have to be careful of rhetoric, because it's like, I can make anything seem like it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
Look at what Hitler did. You know what I mean? It's like just historically, it's like, if you put anything under some banner of morality or saving lives or whatever, you can make any course of action seem really, really good, even if you have numbers that blatantly show that it's not. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what we did. That's absolutely what we did.
Yep. And that's absolutely what we fucking did. We said, we're stupiding ourselves out of this. Somebody just quoted me on that. But we are. And I've had so many people be like, you should just stick with fitness content. I have so not wanted to, me giving 5 tips on how to start your fat loss after fucking, is so irrelevant right now to me. Yeah. It just is. I don't fucking understand how people shouldn't be presenting as much facts as possible. One of the things that got me to keep talking about this was when I saw people like Dr. Johnny Unitas being silenced and shit like that.
Yeah.
That got me to speak up more than anything, because no fucking shit, man. We're dismissing him and him and 6 other renowned world experts in the fucking field of population health and epidemiology. We're saying this is not how we should handle this. This is going to cause more damage than good. We're not looking at the whole picture. We're just looking at the virus, because we were just looking at the virus, and we were looking at the virus through the lens of some dumb fuck who has a history of over fucking blowing all sorts of shit. He has and anybody that defends him, that Ferguson bitch, he has a history of overblowing things. The fucking the software he was using is not used by anybody else because it's so fucking glitchy. It's for fucking the software he was using was for cattle.
It gives you a different outcome if you put the same input in. Yeah, like on different machines. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. And he himself, this is how serious he thought it was. He had to step down from his position with the Imperial College. You know why he had to step down? Because during the lockdowns and like that, his married mistress, he's shuffling her across London during lockdown multiple times to have an affair with her.
Yep.
So if he's not fucking concerned, why should any fucking body else be? Yeah. You know? Like, I mean, I found it to be just egregious. Like,
which to me shows me that he knows he's full of BS.
He knows he's full of shit.
Because no one who thinks is that level of danger is going to take that risk. Yeah. No, there's no way.
No fuck. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? You're like, I mean, like, he's like, well, I already had it, blah, 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 this and that. But she didn't. Her family, like, she's in contact with people because she's married to somebody else, you bitch. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, it's so fucking ridiculous that people still hold on to that fucking shit. You know, I don't, you know, I really, really, really hope, you know, because we've been on for 2 hours, man, because I can talk to you for fucking ever. But so we're going to wrap it up. But I really, really hope that we get our shit together. I hope when we talk next month, me and you can be like, woo, that shit was crazy. You know, like I really do. But I definitely want to talk to you next month. For those of you that don't know, he is going to be one of the speakers on the damn cruise. And dude, I have some other ideas that me and you will talk about offline where I think that it would be interesting for me and you to interview somebody else. You know what I mean? It's like, and if you are not fucking subscribed to his social media, go there. He should be president someday. And tell them where they can find you.
You should be, motherfucker. You guys can find me on Instagram at the Swolefessor, one word. You can also find me on YouTube, the Swolefessor, one word.
Go follow him. Go follow him now. Hey man, I can't thank you enough for spending 2 hours with me again. Fucking awesome, dude. So fucking cool. And do you have any last words like you want to leave everybody with?
Just so you know, 2020 has been wild. And I'll say this: whether you have agreed with us from the start, whether you didn't originally agree with us and you start to shift, or even if you don't still agree with us now, I would just hope that we can learn from the fact that it's okay to be wrong. No one's always right. Alan, I'm sure, has been wrong plenty of times in his life. I know that I've been wrong plenty of times in my life. But it's being mature enough to recognize where you screwed up, learn from it, and better yourself from it. And I want to end on this note, because we were talking about this before. Like, with all the craziness that's been going on this year, guys, please, because I'm big on like health, fitness, and social well-being. Take the time to detach. Take the time to get off social media, to turn the news off, spend time with your friends, spend time with your loved ones, go do something you enjoy, watch a show you enjoy, because it is not healthy to constantly be taking in all this stuff that's going on, all this negativity back and forth over and over and over. Not saying not to care, not saying to ignore it. Please don't ignore it, but take time to take care of yourself because you can't pour from an empty glass. That's the thing I want to say. It's so important.
And that's why you should be fucking president someday. And I'm not shitting you, for real. Like, I mean, like, you're an amazing young man. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Anybody that doesn't think so, I will have to deal with me. Dude, thank you again so much. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you having me on as always, man.
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate you.